June was Pride Month, so I have some LGBTQ reads along with many others. So let's get right into it. Hey, book people. Hola, mi gente. I'm Shay. Welcome back to the channel, MsMalcolmHughes, where we believe books are sometimes better than people. And today we are discussing all of the books I read in June. As I said, it was Pride Month, so we're going to kick it off with our queer reads, and then we're going to move on to everything else I read. So the first book I want to discuss is one that I've read before, so it's a reread. It is Once Ghosted, Twice Shy by Alyssa Cole. I do have a review up on the channel, so I will link that. But in short, I want to say that this is always a feel-good queer romance. I love Lakotsi, definitely one of my book bays, and Fabiola, though she gave our girl a hard time, is an enjoyable character as well. What we have with this book is two women who met up once for what was supposed to be a one night fling. I'm in town, let's see what's happening. And they had a really deep connection. And Lakotsi wanted to pursue it and see what it could be. And Fabiola was like, "You leaving anyway. I got a lot going on. I don't have time for this. And let's stop while it's still fun before it's not." Though that's a code line, it is a bar, and I got it. So eventually, as way leads on to way, they reconnect. They figure out what happened before and why Fabiola was so cold and just cutting it off. And they come back together. What I really enjoy about it is the writing. It's quick pace. The feels are there. Also, I like the elements of religion that come in and learning about Lakotsi's culture. And so I always just love a corporate stud. Hello, a corporate mask. So this always does it for me. Really cute read, still heartwarming. Is it mind blowing? No. Is it necessary for the genre? Absolutely. And because of that, I ended up giving this a read when you have time. As you all know, my scale is based on read now, read soon, read when you have time, or read if you want. This was a read when you have time. Like I said, a lot of books I read this month, trying to be here for a good time, not a long time. So we're kind of flying. The next book I read is Love's Divine by Ava Freeman. And this was such a cute lesbian queer romance. It starts off with one of our characters, Genesis, being out of town in Barbados, going to the resort she's supposed to be staying at, realizing that there's no reservation for her. But they hook her up. They're like, "Hey, there's someone on town who on the island who looks out for us. She has a guest room. You'll be able to rent it." As way leads on to way. There's a connection. However, it wouldn't be a book if it was just that simple. So Zuri is the other person in a relationship, been a long-standing relationship. Well, actually, been a long-standing situationship. She wants something more, and the person has kind of been stringing her along. So she's not exactly happy, but she is loyal. So she's like, do I want to throw that away for this new person who I seem to have a really deep connection with? But they have their own stuff going on. So that's the journey we follow. I will say there was one scene on a deck between, actually, it was a balcony or a deck between two individuals, and let's see, in my notes, I said that scene between Fiona and Zuri beefing over Tracy on the balcony took this book to the next level for me. I was like, I felt that in my soul. It was savage, but it was honest. When the truth just slaps you in the face, what can you do? Now, y'all don't know who Tracy is. You got to read the book. But I felt like this was enjoyable. I said I really liked the story and the journey that got them to where they ended up. I was like, even the side stories felt appropriate. And, I really hope everyone gets a happy ending in the end. I hope they make it. I'm rooting for the people in this book. I really enjoyed it. And for that reason, I gave it a read soon. I definitely feel like we need more lesbian queer romances. So these were two that I read that I really enjoyed. Still with the Pride reads, the next one I read is Witch Trapment by ML Bash. And this was a supernatural romance. I would say the first two were pure romances. This is a supernatural romance. And we have an individual who is preparing for matrimony. So she's like out on the town to enjoy her last, with a freedom before all of these supernatural beings and humans battle for her love in her hand in marriage, whole matrimony. I really enjoyed the natural elements here. I said in my notes, I said, listen, a witch, a werewolf, and a vampire trope is iconic for a reason. And that's what we have here. We have a witch who is enjoying her freedom. She ends up going to this bar, the situation occurs, and she ends up leaving it with two individuals, a wolf and a vampire. Let's just say the spice was spicy. Okay. Um, you know, all three of them were engaged. And so, yeah, definitely fell into the queries for the month for sure. I said that, a lot of wicked things were happening in this book, but it all made sense. I thought it was really good. I was like, did it blow me away? No. But I was like, I still felt like I wanted to know more when it was over. I didn't want it to end. I was like, where's the next part? So I still really enjoyed it. Yeah, just the backstories, the way the characters interacted with each other, the spice here. Yeah, it was right up my alley. Like I said, it was a short read, quick, not too much at all. It was definitely a novella. I ended up giving it a read when you have time, mostly because I wanted a different conclusion. I wanted more. But it was a good read. All right, so staying with the Pride reads. Next, we have Freaked Out. This is Single by Monet Paris, I believe is right. And this one is pure erotica. We have a young woman who is headed out of town after a breakup. And when she's out of town, she's out there trying to enjoy her life. She ends up meeting these two guys who are best friends. They end up taking her home. They have their way with her for the time in which she's in Miami. And a time is had. Pure erotica, okay? A time is had. They treat her nice. They take her out. They buy her whatever she wants. And then they take her home and they have their way with her. And she has her way with them. And it's lovely. The vibes are there. I was like, listen, it's just one single woman on vacay in Miami who with two fine men who spoil and pleasure her without abandon. And the two fine men, they're best friends. Their relationship is never made clear. But I feel like with everything that was going on, it still falls into the Pride reads. I really enjoyed it. Not a lot of backstory, not a lot of plot, pretty fast paced, but I wasn't mad at it. I also ended up giving this a read when you have time. So those are my Pride reads. Moving along. Next, I want to talk about my urban romance reads. First up, we have urban romance, urban fiction. I feel like, it's on a cusp. But first up, we have Quasim II by Jacquel J. And so this, we continue to learn about King Inferno. And I do enjoy learning about Quasim. I appreciate it in this story how we get more background on what's been going on in his personal life. We learn about Elijah, a little boy he's been taken care of for a while now because his mother is trash. So he's really been stepping up. So we get to see that play out with him and Blair. We get to see them find their way, figure out what's going on, really commit. I did find that I was more invested here with the storyline of Elijah versus the romance with Quasim and Blair. I felt like the sex scenes were becoming kind of rudimentary. I felt like the storyline was repetitive from across the books a little bit. So I didn't necessarily love that, but I still really enjoyed the book, especially them trying to figure out what's happening with all the beefs they have, trying to get the backstory of Elijah and what's really going on. I actually really enjoyed that. And to see Quasim kind of like grow and mature in his fatherhood and becoming more comfortable in that. So overall, I actually ended up giving this a read soon. I know Quasim 3 just came out. I haven't read it yet. A couple of things I want to read before that, but I am looking forward to it. Also, Don Caselli's book should be coming out soon. That's the one I'm really waiting for. All right, staying with urban romance, urban fiction, hood erotica, if you will. The next book I want to discuss is I Effed Somebody's Wife by Monet Paris. And this is a book where our boy Fontaine is out. He sees this woman in the club. She bad. He's handsome. And they're feeling each other. They go in the bathroom. They do their thing. He's immediately like, this pussy is mine. It's mine now. You shouldn't have let me taste it if you did want me to have it. She is married. So listen, drama, okay? Yeah. I say in my notes, I said I'm torn between this needs more build up and yeah, I'm with it. because it was just instant. Not a lot of plot, y'all. Not a lot of reasons to understand why he's obsessed. Just that, the sex was good. And now he don't know what to do with himself. I did have some cons. I did say, like, just it needed scene breaks because sometimes the book was flowing and it was transitioning. You're like, wait, what? Um, Also, that it needed another round of copy edit. I was like, independent authors, please stop missing this step. But overall, I said Fontaine is so unhinged, and I'm not mad at it. Not sure what that says about me. But I did say it was cute until it wasn't. Okay, Fontaine, it became a legit psycho. And he did some things for Janelle, and I was like, I don't even know if he's obsessed over Janelle or he's just an obsessive personality. He went from 0 to 10,000 really quick, and it was a lot. It was a lot. I said, it's very toxic. A lot was going on. But the author promised that at the onset, there's going to be a toxic read. And she did not disappoint. I said, overall, it was a good time. But I did leave wondering how long this obsession would last. I know that's not the purpose of the book, but that was my question. And as you could see, you heard me discuss another book by Monet Johnson. You will hear me discuss another book by Monet Johnson. Monet Paris, sorry. By Monet Paris. So I was into it. I ended up giving this a read soon. All right, again, staying with urban fiction. The next book I want to discuss is The Weekend by Monet Paris. It's 3 books in one, actually. You can read them separately. I read the omnibus where they're all together. And this is the story of Ebony and Kane. Ebony works at a strip club. Kane comes in there. He asks for a private dance. It's a vibe, it's a connection. And from there, he's like, he's never been in love like this. She like has never felt anything like this. Except Kane is married. But he doesn't want to be married. He had promised his mother that he would marry this woman, and so he did before she died, before his mother died. And now he's just stuck in a marriage that he doesn't want to be in. But he is not letting up off Ebony. Okay, he in it. So that's what we're watching. Book 1 deals with that. Book 2, Kane does something that gets him incarcerated in book 1. And so book 2, he's out of jail and he's going to find Ebony. Okay. I ended up enjoying that. And then book 3 is him and Ebony building a life. So kind of spoiled that for y'all. But book 1, I definitely said that it was a read when you have time. It was cool, not too much. Book 2, I thought was the best. It was read soon. And book 3, it was mid for me, so I definitely gave that a read if you want. So that's that series. But overall, it wasn't bad. I flew through it. I think the whole thing was probably maybe 156 pages or something like that. So not a long read. Enjoyable overall. I just feel like book 3 was trying to do a thing and it made sense. I just didn't love it. So that's what I thought about that series. All right, last urban fiction read. We have Aura by Antoinette Sherrill. I have it here, so I will show y'all Aura, however you pronounce it. And so, as you all know, these little novellas are, or mic checks as they're called, are for the Art of Hood Love series. These were like some holdovers until Relic's book came out, which is out. I'm currently reading the last one of these now, so I haven't read Relic yet. But once I finish Calm's story, I will. But this is Aura. She is it says introducing the sex symbol. By the time we get to the end of the book, she has a different name. But this is the backstory of Aura. How did she come to be at Relic Records? Her background story, and listen, Aura's story is dark. It's some darkness back there that, like, she does give you a trigger warning at the beginning. But I put the book down for at least a week before I could read it. I was like, I don't have time for that. It's not very long. In the end, there's assault on the page, but I still enjoyed it. You move past that. You see how Aura went on to bloom. It actually reminded me of like Megan Thee Stallion's story, a rapper chick in college doing her thing, blowing up, doing X, Y, and Z to become this legend that she is in her own right. So I actually really ended up enjoying it. Y'all know The Art of Who Love is one of my favorite series out right now, and this was no different. This wasn't my favorite mic check, but I really liked it. So I did end up giving it a read when you have time. All right, staying on the theme of romance, but moving on from urban romance. The book that I want to discuss is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. And one thing I like about Abby Jimenez's writing is that I just feel like I'm having a conversation with a friend. And so here we have a woman who ends up getting stranded on the side of the road. She needs to call help. Someone else comes to meet her. They have a connection. Nothing happens in that moment. They meet again. And we're following this romance of her being like, he's too young for me. I don't know if I can do that. Of him being like, she the one. And will they choose each other? It's also different classes. So she is very well off, and he is not as well off. And so, what will the journey bring? It was definitely giving Sweet Home Alabama meets Grey's Anatomy, and I wasn't mad at it at all. I quite enjoyed it. I did say there were a lot of like lessons here. There are also things about subtle like mental and verbal abuse that are covered here and unpacked, and I love that that was happening here because sometimes when you think of abuse, you think of it as physical, and that's not always how abuse happens, and the impact can be the same, and so, or worse. So, definitely love that that was covered here. I like Abby Jimenez, like Kennedy Ryan, you're going to get these romances, but you're also going to get some deepness in there as well. It's going to be some depth and things happening. So that's what we see here. Overall, I really enjoyed it, even though I said some of the characters were frustrating, but that happens. One thing I did not like, when she was describing Pop's skin, she just said it was black, and I wanted more specificity. What shade of black? Like, give us some details there. So I put in my notes, no me gusta. And yeah, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I like Abby Jimenez's writing. I do plan to continue that series. So you all will probably hear me say more about those books in the future. But like I said, really good. I ended up giving it a read soon. All right, moving on from romance. The next book that I want to discuss is a crime thriller, and that is Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. I recently got to meet S.A. Cosby when he was here in D.C., and so I got all of my books signed. I'll insert some pictures so you all can see. But it was a really good time. He is like hilarious, and he seems to have like a really good personality. And I can tell that he enjoys like his fans coming out and supporting his work. So it was just a vibe. But what we have here is Beauregard is our main protagonist, and he is between a rock and a hard place. He is trying to level things out and be okay financially, but it is a challenge, right? It's just not working out that well. And he used to be in a life and he's not trying to go back to it, but it's calling him because he needs this money. And so we go on that journey with Burgard here of him being a driver. And he's basically the getaway man. He's the getaway car he drives. But who does he drive? Is there so much depth here? One thing I'm realizing with S.A. Cosby, like some of the other writers I've discussed, you're never just getting this simple story. There's depth, there's complexity, often family complexity. And so we get this here with Burgard and the story of his dad and just the complex history that they have. And so I really enjoyed this book. I also said that he was spinning a lot of really good bars. I feel like gems are often dropped. One is there were two individuals were having a discussion about how messed up the world is. And I think Beauregard said, the world's fine. It's us that's effed up, as in humans. And I felt that. I said, whew, is what I have in my notes. I said this was a really good journey. I was like, Beauregard is a tough piece of cake. There's so much pain in his life. But I was like, I'm rooting for him to stay around and do what his father couldn't do. They say that people never really change, though, so I am curious. It makes you wonder what's really down the road for Beauregard. But it was a really good story. You know, thriller, crime thriller, if you will. I think that, like so many people have said, S.A. Cosby does a good job of taking you on this journey, ripping your heart out a little bit for these characters, but putting it back together, right? He ends up in an okay place, arguably. Arguably. It's really not clear, but we hope, right? But I enjoyed the journey. I really, really did. And so, again, I ended up giving this book a read soon. That's every book I read in June, y'all. I'm reading a few different books right now. Like I said, one book I'm reading is Calm, the last book in the Mic Check series, before I can read Relic. I am also reading The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates. So you will probably hear both of those discussed in my July wrap up. But let me know what y'all are reading in the comments down below. I hope that y'all are enjoying summer, enjoying the good weather, the heat, the summer nights. I always say they feel like magic. So really get out there and just enjoy it and enjoy the freedom. All things considered, everything that's going on, we need it. So find joy where you can and hug on the people that you love and pull them close. But that's it for me. As always, I'm Shay. The channel is Miss Malcolm Hughes. Again, one where we believe books are sometimes better than people. And until the next one, I hope that you all are doing well, being kind to yourselves and each other. And I will see you soon. Take care.